and to render opinions as to where the phones are located at a particular time.
Correct.
Now, were you aware that in order for him to do that, one of the things he needed was the name of the cell provider, correct?
Yes.
And the list of towers in a particular area that he's trying to locate the phone?
I don't know if he needed the list of towers, but that's standard.
Would it surprise you to learn that he needs not only the provider name, but the list of towers in a particular area so that he can attempt to map out and tell a jury like this where the phones are located at a particular time?
I have to disagree because the platform they use, CastViz, is linked with called NDCAC. It's the national database of all the cell towers that's maintained in the United States. So the platform they use is constantly updated. Now, when we use the platform we use, we have to update it periodically because more towers are added. So as for the fact that he needed it, I'm not sure about that, sir.
Okay. Are you aware that even though they are the Rolls-Royce of locating phones throughout the world, that they cannot pinpoint at a particular time exactly where a phone is at any particular time?
Correct.
They can only give a general area.
Correct, sir.
That general area is approximately a couple miles wide, correct?
No, it's more like meters as compared to miles. It's accurate, but it's not precise.
Now, you indicated to these folks that you looked at something on the cell records called environment.
Yes, sir.
And you use that as a guide to locate or plot where a particular phone is at a particular time, correct?
You're right, man. Let me eat that oxtail and wash it down with some liquor, man. What's the problem, bro?
Phone is interpreting where it's at. Example, it tells us if it's mobile, if it's outdoor, it tells us it's indoor. The environment. It has nothing to do with the location data. We use that in this case because every time we had an environment response from the T-Mobile records, I could corroborate it with video. Example, when he walked out of the recording studio at 3:18 a.m., the phone was registering outdoor.
How about when it was on I-75 or 595?
It was saying mobile. And if you would let me finish, every time the phone was registering outdoor, mobile, we had video to corroborate that. So he's walking, he's outdoors, it says mobile. It says outdoor. The second he gets in that vehicle and drives away, it switches over to mobile. On 595, we have video, mobile. On Pines Boulevard near the Monastery School, it says mobile. Passing McDonald's, mobile. After the shooting, after the murder, it's coming back east on Pines Boulevard, it's saying mobile. So we had video to corroborate that one little instant, that one little section of the box.
Are you aware that the FBI never, ever uses the label environment because they cannot attest to the reliability of that?
Well, I can't attest to how the FBI operates. I can't attest to their
Could you
policy.
just answer my question yes or no and then explain?
Oh, shit, it's getting spicy.
Repeat the question, sir.
Are you aware, yes or no, whether or not you're aware that the FBI does not look at the environment because they cannot attest to the reliability?
I am not aware of that.
Fair enough. You also use latitude and longitude coordinates.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that the FBI does not rely upon the latitude and longitude when they determine where a phone is?
The latitude and longitude that comes into play on the true call data report of the cell phone. It's an estimate. The cell phone provider is providing us an estimate where they believe the phone might be. Like we said before, it's not precise, but it's accurate.
My question to you wasn't that. My question to you is, are you aware?
Excuse me. What's the objection?
Badgering and you may approach briefly on.
Sure.
Nah, this nigga on timing. This nigga on timing, man. I knew as soon as I brought the oxtail out, he was going to be on timing. Here we go.
Is that a phone may be in a general area, correct?
Correct, sir.
Cannot be 100% correct, right?
Correct.
And in fact, depending upon what tower it bounces off on, it could be totally incorrect.
There has been false readings with towers. There has been false readings with towers. And sometimes, anomalies within the records. It happens.
And we've heard a lot of talk about chat messages, and you read with both prosecutors various messages for what I perceive to be days, but hours, maybe. Days.
I would agree with you. It was long.
Long. And they would say, I'm going to pretend to be Mr. Smith, for instance, and you read the message coming from Judge Murphy, but I'll get in trouble. Not Judge Murphy. How about that gentleman in the back from BSO?
Okay.
And the messages were read and identified as those two people, the state and that BSO officer sitting in that corner.
Yes, sir.
Basically, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're aware, in order to really tell a jury who the person is, you need that person, like this.
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the objection?
Foundation.
Sustained, rephrase.
You've had training in analyzing phones,
Yes, sir.
somewhat, correct?
Yes, sir.
You have been an officer or a detective for some 20 plus years.
Yes, sir.
In order to identify someone's voice, you would need, legally in the courtroom, as you know, the person who made the phone call, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or the person who received the phone call.
Objection, Your Honor. It's purpose
Sustained.
of the law.
Did you ever speak to, what was his name, Gambino?
Yes, I did. Patrick Deloach is his real name. Deloach.
Oh, shit.
D-E-L-O-A-C-H.
Don't worry, I'm almost done. I only got one piece of oxtail left. I only eat
Now,
oxtail.
in addition to that, you told this jury that you attempted to, well, you did get some cameras off of 595 and I-75, correct?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell the jury if you could see who was in each vehicle?
No, sir, you cannot tell.
Could you tell this jury how many people were in each vehicle?
No, sir, you cannot tell.
And you did get a surveillance from Montessori School, correct?
Yes, sir. And McDonald's.
And McDonald's. Well, on Miramar Parkway, for instance, the only surveillance you got was from the Montessori School, correct?
No, Montessori School is on Pines Boulevard.
Okay. Did you get any surveillance from any of the cameras on Miramar Parkway?
More specifics, or which one are you referring to?
Okay. How about the CVS that's on Miramar Parkway?
It doesn't cover up that far.
Did you pull it?
We went there.
Did you look at it?
Yes, sir.
How about Applebee's on Miramar Parkway?
Where's there Applebee's on Miramar Parkway?
We're on Dykes Road. On Miramar Parkway West, on Dykes Road, on the intersection.
Yeah, there's a pharmacy there, but there's no Applebee's there.
Did you go to that pharmacy?
Yes, sir.
Did you pull the surveillance?
No, sir.
How about the Pollo Tropical?
Their videos didn't cover that area.
Yo, I'm gonna keep it a bean with you. This white lawyer, he talking like he got an attitude. You ever see when white people get pulled over versus black people? I don't make me to keep bring up race. My hand at 10 and 2. I already know you want to see license, registration, insurance. I'm yes sirring him. A white motherfucker get pulled over. Why the fuck did you pull me over? This is him right here. He got dumb attitude. By the way, he's speaking to a cop. The cop over here is copping pleas to him.
Did you pull him?
No, sir.
Did you look at him?
No, sir.
How about the gas station that's on Miramar Parkway?
The one just east of McDonald's?
Yes.
Yes, it did not cover the road.
How about the bank that was on the corner of 172nd and Miramar Parkway?
Did not cover the road.
Did you look at it?
Yes, sir.
Did you bring it in?
No, sir.
How about the four-way intersection where there's 4 cameras on 172nd Avenue?
Cameras covering the road.
Yeah, to see the cars driving through.
There's no traffic cameras at 172 and Pines. That seems to be a great misconception when people see those white boxes on top of the cameras. Those are actually controlled the traffic signals. They're sensors. The old sensors used to be in the road. They would burn out. The lights would not cycle properly. So, but there's no cameras. It's a great misconception.
Okay, then you said the vehicle turned right on and went south on 184th. Is that correct?
Which vehicle?
The Jeep?
Jeep never went south on 184.
Did it make a right turn on 184, the Jeep?
Yes, sir.
That would be north.
Yes, sir.
By the way, pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to me. But if you're watching me eating, I'm Jamaican. And I mean oxtails. So after you eat the meat, you got to eat the bones. I'm keeping a bean. So please, don't watch me. Let's keep watching over there. Because y'all won't see me chawing on bones and shit. I'm sorry. I'm not giving it up. Sorry, I'm Jamaican. I ain't going to... Nah, oxtails is too expensive. It's like $30 a plate, nigga. Okay? So I'm going to get these bones in, all right? So just don't judge me. Let's follow what homie's saying.
My mistake. Did you look at the camera at Publix that's on that road?
Doesn't cover the road, sir.
Did you pull it and look at it?
We went there. It does not cover the road.
My question is, did you look at it?
Yes.
How about Sunset Lakes Elementary? That's there. Did you pull that camera, sir?
No, sir.
How about West Broward Elementary? Did you pull that camera?
Where's West Broward Elementary located at?
On south on 184.
184 and what?
Pembroke Road.
Pembroke Road in 184?
Yes.
I don't know of a West Broward school there at Pembroke Road in 184.
Okay. How about the Walmart?
No, sir.
You didn't look at it.
No, sir.
How about the Audi Market? Did
No,
you
sir.
look at that one?
No, sir.
How about the Walgreens?
No, sir.
We know that you pulled the Montessori school.
Yes, sir.
How about the Exxon? That's right down the street from there.
No, sir.
How about Somerset Academy?
No, sir.
How about the Tractor Supply Company on that street? Did you bother to look at that camera?
We're specifically on Pines Boulevard at the Tractor Supply.
190 what? 192nd.
No, sir.
You missed quite a few cameras.
No, sir.
No. Now, you were told by Cortland Henry that the day of October 25th, several people went to the flea market to buy some weed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Certainly you went there to pull the tapes of the flea market so that you could show this jury, didn't you?
No, sir.
But you did a helicopter ride to show this jury this route on what day?
May 2023.
May of 2023,
Yes, sir.
after this trial started. Correct?
Action, Your Honor.
Suggestion.
Nah, this nigga talking with an attitude, man. You talking with an attitude. This nigga like he mad that he in court.
I think it's Exhibit 115.
Can you step down for a second? See if you can find it.
You want me to help you find Johnson?
If you could. Yes. Could you step down to help?
Is it one of the other ones?
I'm too old to say, Judge.
Here we go.
Which would have been Officer Amador.
Yes, sir.
And also on the scene is Detective Bertram and Bermudez.
Sergeant Bermudez, yes.
Sergeant, I apologize. And you are assigned the lead detective role.
Yes, sir.
And that is like a conductor in an orchestra. Right?
I wouldn't categorize that, but
Now, are pictures taken?
I'm about to go wash my hands and shit. Normally, because I'm Jamaican, like, I would chew on this for another hour, but I want to gross y'all out. So, I'm going to wash my hands up.
Of the two individuals that were shot before they were removed from the vehicle, the Jeep?
yes, no, sir.
You immediately go and speak to Cortland Henry, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we listened to the tape of Mr. Henry,
Yes, sir.
who told you that there were 3 people in his car, correct?
Yes, sir.
Cortland Henry, the driver, correct?
Yes.
Christopher well, let me get in the right order. In the front passenger seat was Anthony Williams,
Yes.
and sitting in the rear passenger seat was Christopher Thomas.
Yes.
Only those 3 people when the shootings occurred, correct?
Correct.
You learned that he lied to you about where the drive-by shooting was, correct?
Yes.
You went to, 3 different areas to look for evidence of the drive-by of Cortland, what Cortland Henry told you, correct?
Yes.
You learned at that time that at first he was labeled a victim, but that he now is lying to the police concerning the shooting of two individuals.
He was still listed as a victim that day, even though we knew he was lying to us, but he was still considered a victim at that point.
There is such a crime as lying to the police, correct?
Yes, sir, it's a misdemeanor.
You could have arrested him if you so chose for lying to the police, correct?
You're saying I should have arrested a potential victim of a violent crime on a misdemeanor?
Could you just answer my question? Could you have arrested him, yes or no?
Yes.
And you spoke to him.
Hey, I'm looking for the thing, my little floss thing to get, like, you know what I mean, the thing on my teeth. Hey, I'll say this. You know what I like about this lawyer? He don't really give a fuck about them detectives. He's just there to do what he got to do. Here's my only problem that I think is going to hurt Melly with his approach. At the end of the day, if you want to get Melly off, you need the jurors to kind of believe Melly is a victim. Melly's friends were killed. The cops and their bullshit-ass investigation, which they botched twice, or once at least, these guys have it out for Melly, and they're not treating him like his friends died. This guy's demeanor is so brash, it kind of isn't sympathetic to kind of show like, hey, you know, this guy was, you know, he lost his friends. Like, why are you guys coming after him? He seems very cold, which I think his approach could kind of turn jurors off. I don't even know if any of them are looking at Melly as a potential victim at this point, but he's very like, yo, answer the question. Like, he don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
For approximately an hour or two, correct?
It was about an hour.
Okay. And he gave you the address where he lives, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that address was 18521 Southwest 44th Street, Silver Lakes?
Yes, sir. No, Sunset Lakes.
Sunset Lakes. But he gave you the home address.
Yes.
And he tells you also that Melly lives there, correct?
Yes.
He tells you Anthony Williams, one of the victims, lives there.
Yes.
He tells you Christopher Thomas, the other victim, lives there, correct?
Correct.
And he also tells you that Melly is a recording artist, correct?
Yes.
And we learned from the testimony that $16 million went into Jameson Francois' bank account.
Over a 30-month period, yes.
Okay. So, and he was the business manager of this 19-year-old young man.
Yes.
You learned later, correct?
Yes.
A rather successful, would you say, recording artist.
I really don't understand the music business. I don't know how the money's made, how it comes in.
I'm not asking you that. Someone who earns $16 million in 30 months legally is pretty successful, wouldn't you say?
Well, I don't, like I said before, that we could never determine the amount of money, what was, because Mr. Francois had other clients, so we could never isolate what specifically is made by one artist over another.
Okay.
We just knew the money was there.
So, you knew that the two victims, the driver of the car that lied to you, and Melly lived, and you had the address at the same house.
Yes.
You also learned about that time, and you mentioned it briefly, that a text message came out from a crucial almighty.
Yes.
And that text message was, we were just aiming at YNW. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And it had a picture of him with a target. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So it would be fair to say on October 26th of 18, Crucial Almighty, which his real name was David Hedgepath, was suspect number one based upon that.
It was a person of interest. It was something to look at.
When did you, since you knew this, on October 26th of 2018, when did you decide to talk to the David Hedgepath, Crucial Almighty, who said he shot at this young man inside a Jeep? What date?
I first did a search warrant into his social media account where the comments came from, which then was able to determine a better picture of Mr. Hedgepath was. So it was probably maybe 2 years later when we interviewed Mr. Hedgepath.
2 years later. That would be in 20?
Yes, sir.
A year after this young man surrenders to you, to the police?
I'm not sure the exact date, but
February of 19.
Yo, this lawyer sounds like he got an attitude, bro.
Would you agree it was 2 years after that?
yes, sir.
And you interviewed him after the case was closed, correct? Because it was closed at the time of the arrest
Yes, sir.
of Melly, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why are you talking so hot?
Do you subpoena any records from him?
His work records.
And when do you subpoena those work records?
2 years later, after we interviewed him.
Okay. And I think you introduced them as. Did you speak to any of his co-employees to verify whether or not he was really working when the time clock indicated he was?
No, sir.
No. You also learned from Cortland Henry that they were having a problem with a guy named Benton.
Yes.
I'm going to label him as suspect number 2. Who is Bentley?
Never could identify him.
So last name unknown.
Correct.
Right now, his first.
You also learn that there was a problem at Walmart where they got jumped and I think a necklace or a bracelet was stolen.
A little pendant fell off one of them, yes.
Okay. Did you go to Walmart to investigate that?
No, sir.
I'm going to make him suspect number 3 so far. And I'm going to just label him Walmart with a question mark. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
So clearly, this defense attorney is trying to bring up other possible people who were initially suspected of maybe doing it before the police ultimately pointed out Melly. And he's probably saying, y'all didn't do a proper investigation of them. Why did y'all charge my client? I guess, so what he's doing here is kind of standard. It's par for the course. What's going to be more difficult for him or the other attorney to prove is that, okay, cool. You know why they didn't interview these guys, right? Because ballistics and forensics came back to say that the shooting happened from within the car. And it happened from the place that only YNW Melly was sitting. So you got to show the whole world that it's doubtful that the shooting occurred from there. They try to play the game with the GPS. They're trying oh, well, you know, it could be a couple miles. He stood on it and not a couple miles, a couple meters.
Did you bother to go and attempt to pull the surveillance of Walmart because they keep their tapes for a while?
Not a while, sir, but usually about 30 days.
Did you go to Walmart to attempt to see if it even didn't exist?
No, sir.
Now, you then, during October 26th, get the surveillance tape of the people coming out of the recording studio, correct?
On which date, sir?
The 26th.
Yes, sir.
You respond to the hospital in the morning.
Yes, sir.
By mid-afternoon, you get the surveillance tape, correct?
Yes, sir.
You identify, do you not, by the end of October 26th, all 8 people that left the recording studio?
I think we had more like the 27th, everyone was pretty much identified.
Okay. By October 27th, you identified Cortland Henry, correct?
Yes, sir.
Anthony Williams,
Yes, sir.
Christopher Thomas,
Yes, sir.
Trevon Glass,
Yes, sir.
Melly,
Yes, sir.
I'm missing 3
Jacoby Mills and-
Jacoby Mills,
Dontavius Withers
Dontavius Withers, and Adrian Davis. All 8 people that left the recording studio, and 2 had passed away, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you knew where all 8 of them were living, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was at the 18720, whatever that address I read off before.
The Sunset Lakes 184 Southwest 44th Street.
You had that address, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had observed the bloody scene of inside the Jeep, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that Cortland Henry had lied to you.
Correct.
So you certainly, at that point, obtained a search warrant to look at that house to see if you could find any blood, any gun, or anything to tie up what happened in that car, correct?
There is no way we could have got a search warrant for that house because there was no nexus to the crime to the house. And I have to establish a nexus between the two, or the judges will not sign the warrant.
Did you even try, sir, to get a search warrant and go in front of a judge and say, I got 8 people who left the studio. They all live in the same house. The driver of the vehicle we interviewed lied, and the inside of the Jeep is covered in blood, and we're looking for the gun or guns and the bloody clothes involved in this. Did you bother to do that, sir?
So like I said before, there was no connection between the house and the crime itself. Now,
The answer-
where we had blood, where we had evidence, where we had instruments of a crime, we did search warrants. Anytime we had a nexus between the two, we did a search warrant. We never had a nexus between the two. We even went to that house that day, knocked on the door, there was no one there.
You could have secured that house by officers standing in front of it and at least come to this jury and say, I went to a judge, explain to the judge, 8 people live in a house, 8 people left the studio, and a few hours later, 2 people ended up dead, and the driver of the vehicle lied to us about everything concerning the shooting. You could have done that, could you?
No, that's not how that works, sir.
Not how it works. Fair enough. Did you get a search warrant of the house in November at all?
You mean for which house, sir?
The house where Melly lived.
No, sir.
How about December?
They were already gone at that point.
You could have looked for blood, traces of blood, because we saw that you sprayed this agent on things and miraculously blood surfaces. You know that.
Yes, sir.
Did you do that?
No, sir.
This thing is saying a whole bunch of nothing, y'all.
You mentioned to the state that you spoke to an Adrian Davis and a Dontavius Withers, correct?
Yes, sir.
They were the 2 of the individuals that originally left the studio
Yes, sir.
and got into the red Mitsubishi.
Correct.
You learned from that.
Question here, say.
I haven't even asked a question.
He washed himself.
Alright, let's get past this part.
This jury,
Yes, sir.
you do not get a search warrant for the Jeep.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, the Jeep is searched on October 26th, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the purpose of that was to photograph it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Process it for fingerprints and DNA,
Correct.
and to collect all the physical evidence was inside the Jeep that could lead to who did this. Correct?
Correct.
And that was done over several hours. Correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, it was done by at least 2 crime scene technicians.
Yes, sir.
Now, there was also the red Mitsubishi that was seen leaving the vehicle, leaving the area, correct?
Yes, sir.
With several people, correct?
Yes, sir.
That you ended up interviewing over the course of this investigation, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you, in fact, search the red Mitsubishi at any time?
No, sir.
Did you, in fact, process the red Mitsubishi to get fingerprints to determine who was inside that vehicle?
No, sir.
Had you done that, you could have obtained DNA.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
If you did that, that could verify, would it not, whether or not Melly got inside that vehicle. Right?
Not necessarily.
But it could have.
Possibly, yes.
October 27th, I think we were done at, you interviewed, as you've indicated, Dontavius Withers again, correct?
Yes, sir.
At the end of October 27th,
My bad, chat. My bad. Big Ack in the building, man. Yo, y'all niggas stop trying to roast on Twitch, man. Get y'all ass to fuck off the screen. We about to put Rumble on the screen now. I ain't gonna hold you. Shout out to Rumble. Home base. Anyway, what I was saying, man, this thing ain't saying shit, man. This nigga saying a lot of shit about nothing. I ain't gonna say he as bad as the nigga that was in X case talking about, well, did y'all interview Drake about X's death? They were beefing. Like, bruh, what you talking about? This ain't got nothing to do with what's going on. Like, he's just throwing out random people. Why didn't you interview this guy? He's suspect 1, this guy's suspect 2. Pussy! Look at the other information. It said, why interview them niggas when them niggas never got in the car with the guy? The evidence points to the shot got fired in the car. We got footage of who got in the car. Pussy, you need to explain to us why Melly got into a car, and that car, from that position, it said they were shooting at the other niggas. Don't talk about these other guys. Talk about why we, like, this is wasting time hoping the jury's like, oh, maybe they didn't do a proper investigation. Brother, I'm telling you, they've showed enough evidence that people want to know, why did the bullets come from within? And if you ain't finna answer that, I don't think Melly's gonna be in a good case. Yo, this thing he's chatting a lot of shit right now. Let me go on to this. I wanted to